PhD economist Thomas Sowell wrote, "In reality, most of the great fortunes in American history have resulted from someone's figuring out how to reduce costs so as to be able to charge lower prices and therefore gain a mass market for the product." Henry Ford did this with automobiles, Rockefeller with oil, Carnegie with steel, and Sears, Penny, Walton, and other department store chains founders with a variety of products. How can we take this lesson, apply it to the healthcare industry, and have affordable healthcare for all Americans?
Totally. And you start by asking that question, which I don't think too many policymakers do. I think people have basically internalized this view where the costs of everyday essentials, healthcare, housing, education, just get more and more expensive every year, right? We tend to assume that because that's been the case for 40 or 50 years, this is some iron law of physics, but it's not. And you've seen other industries that you mentioned, right? Certainly IT or flat screen TVs, like the costs of these things, they just go down every year and the quality goes up. And that's a pretty consumer, friendly ratio. Healthcare, there's some ways to spin it where the quality goes up every year. Actually, I think it's pretty flat, but certainly the costs are rising astronomically relative to what we get. Same thing in education. And when you look at the healthcare industry, or you look at the education, higher education, what you see is a lot of cartel-like organization. You see a lot of giant consolidation, in hospital systems, in pharmaceutical companies. You see a lot of regulatory capture, where a lot of the people running these companies used to work in the government, or maybe soon will, and there's this revolving door, and you get legislation sort of written to protect giant incumbents and keep out startup entrants. And I think we have to go in and part of it's deregulation, part of it is just hacking away at some of the corruption and the waste and the overconsolidation, and figuring out what's a more lightweight regulatory footprint we can take, and get prices back. The biggest problem with healthcare and the costs in America is that the costs are totally opaque. And so if I'm a consumer of healthcare, but I'm never interacting with prices, it's just some Byzantine process where at the end I get some bill that I can't understand. That's bad. It's bad to have a system where a knee MRI can cost $600 or $15,000, just depending on the arbitrary flow of where did I get the procedure in town, and who's the attending physician, and what have they negotiated with which insurer. That doesn't make sense at all. And so I think deregulating quite a bit, taking away some of the protections enjoyed by incumbents, making it much more open and competitive, and getting pricing back into the system, like real market pricing, I think is just obviously the way to do it.
Yeah, I really like that answer, because if you look at, you can almost just take their arguments and just apply it to different fields. So they'll say, if you need so much as a driver's license to vote, millions of people will not be able to have access to voting. It's like, oh, okay, what if you need hundreds of licenses to just start a business, and then more licenses to trade, and then you're constantly getting audited by OSHA and everyone else? Well, those regulations hurt those in lower income brackets more than, Walmart's not sweating that OSHA's coming around, but everyone else is, and the Department of Agriculture. So thank you for prioritizing that